Today, we are going to be solving this coding competition, which is part of the mock Canadian computing competition. J1. So, two enemies confront Jojo Satoru, possessing cursed energy levels donated as A and B respectively. Gojo wants to know the combined cursed energy of the two enemies. The combined cursed energy is usually the sum, but there's a peculiar exception. If either of the enemies has a cursed level of 0, the energy level of the other one becomes 0 as well. Since Gojo missed his math classes to learn magic, he seeks your help, a math student, to assist him. So basically, what we're going to be doing is we have cursed energy level, and it's a sum of just denoted as A and B, right? Now, if both of these energy levels are zero, sorry, if one of these energy levels are zero, the other one becomes zero as well. So both of them become zero if one of them is zero. Otherwise, you can just output the sum, I guess. Yeah, so you just output the sum of both of these. So like if I take these both of these digits and I just add them up, you can see I get uh, that output. Right, but in this case, I get 0 because one of the energy levels is 0. Okay, let's do this question. So I'm gonna go into my mock file, and this was I'm just gonna say uh, OTHS, which is just a high school, I assume. And I'm gonna say math assistance, gojo math assistance, and that's gonna be Python file. And then let's go ahead and add my name, my course code, uh, student number, teacher. Um, we'll also add the date. Today's 22nd of October, and then this is called math assistance. All right, so now what we will do is we will look at our input. Our input is the cursed energy levels from both enemies, right? So let's go ahead and look at that. So enemy underscore one underscore energy is going to be our first, and it's going to be an integer because it's a non-negative integer. So we can just assume it's non-negative. We don't need to check for that because the output will always be that. And then enemy 2 energy, which is going to be an integer of input. Now what we will do is we will check if one of these energy levels are 0. So we can say if enemy 1 equals to 0, then enemy 2 will become 0 as well. Otherwise, or elif, enemy, because we have to put elif instead of else, by the way, in this case, because if we put else, then we're assuming that the only other scenario is that the enemy 2 energy is 0, which is not true, right? Both enemy 1 and enemy 2 energies can be above 0, which is denoted in the constraints over here, right? It's a range from 0 to 10 to the power of 4. So now enemy. Now we're gonna check if enemy two's energy is 0, and if that is, then enemy 1 will become 0 as well. All right. Now what we can do is we can just find the sum of this. Or you know what? To make this easier on me, what I'll do is I'll just have a sum, like a total over here of 0, and then all I'm gonna say is if enemy 1 energy is 0 or enemy 2 energy is 0, then the total will be 0, right? Because it's a sum that needs to be 0. And then otherwise, we can continue on with our logic, right? We need to put in an else statement because otherwise this total will be overridden. Um, so otherwise, if this is not true, if one of these energy levels are not 0, then what we will do is we can just have total as both energy levels total, and then we can just go ahead and print out the total afterwards. So if I go ahead and run this now, and we take our sample input here of 0 and 45, let's see what we get. So let's go ahead and paste this, and you can see that we do get the correct output of 0. Let's go ahead and try this out too, which is another test case. Again, paste, and you can see that that also is correct. So this is much more elegant than the other way that I had, of where I would check for, like, I can actually code it out, and then I'll show you why mine is this way is much better. It just uses less lines of code. um, I'll just do one. But in the first thing that I was thinking of, I was doing was I was basically checking if enemy one's energy is 0, and if it is, then I was assigning the enemy two energy to 0, and I was doing the opposite for if enemy one, if enemy two was a 0. But that's kind of complicated and it's much more cumbersome. You can think of it, right? It's redundant. This is much more better, where I'm just checking for both conditions in one of the if clauses, and using the Boolean operator of or, I just need one of these two to be correct for this to compute true. And that's exactly what we want over here, right? Over here, it's saying that if either of the enemy's energy is 0, then the whole energy becomes 0 as well, because it's saying the energy level of the other one becomes 0. And if you do 0 plus 0, you will always get 0, right? So just assigning total to 0 like that would be perfect. Would make perfect sense. And otherwise, if none of these enemies' energy are 0, then we can just output our total as normal. So if I go ahead and submit this solution now, as you can see, we passed all of the batch test case, and we have a 15 out of 15, or 3 points on this on the contest.